Hey there. In this video, we're going to be discussing and this is a you and I conversation between myself and you watching this video. It isn't just me. This is an engaging conversation that we are having. Although I'll be doing the most of the talking and you'll be having ideas that you can bounce back and forth. And trust me, I am receiving. So, as we go into this video and we talk about the missing link between setting goals and achieving your goals, I'm going to share a story about how I used to set goals. And it's going to sound really silly because it's kind of goofy what my beliefs were about goal setting. So, traditionally, how I learned to set goals was you pick a goal, like a specific achievable target, which some people call it, and we learn this in schools at work. And you set a goal and you set a time and date that you want to achieve it, and then maybe you set a couple plans to get there and things like that. Those are the big elements of traditional goal setting. And a long time ago, probably about nine years ago or so, I read the book. Maybe 10 years ago. I think it's almost like 10 or 11 years ago now. I read the book Think and Grow Rich. And in that book, it talks about the power of creating a definite chief aim in life. And one of the ways that a definite chief aim is done is it's basically a type of goal that you set. And at the time, I was totally skeptical of these types of things. Like, I knew goals worked, but I never really thought about how they work, why they work. And, I just kind of set them arbitrarily. I didn't have a major purpose or aim. I just kind of set them arbitrarily, hoping that things would come. Because I would say, oh, well, I set this goal and, I hope that this works, right? Like, how unusual of a goal setting idea is that? It's almost sounds silly that you can just write something down and hope that it works, right? But for me, it did work in some cases. So for one of my goals was I wanted to live and experience what it was like to live in a major city. And since 10 or 12, almost 12 years ago, 10 to 12 years ago, I read that book and I set some goals for myself. I said that I wanted to live and experience a major city, including either San Francisco, Los Angeles, Miami, New York. And since then, I've had the opportunity to travel to New York City. I've had the opportunity to do business and have part of my career in Miami. I've had the opportunity to experience life in San Francisco, and now I live in Los Angeles. So I've had that opportunity to reach those goals and those milestones. And with that said, since those days that I set those goals and I've realized that I've reached a lot of goals that I've set for myself, such as starting a podcast, writing a book, acting in a commercial, launching a small business, building websites, things like that, making money in cryptocurrency, trading in stocks and making money that way. I've set those goals, and after reaching them, I've constantly wondered this question. What are some bigger goals I could have achieved if I had set them more effectively? Because it's one thing, there's certain things that you have absolute control of in life, such as where you live. In the most cases, if you don't want to live in a certain neighborhood and you're renting and you can find another neighborhood with the same amount of rent, it's pretty easy to move. If you really want to move away and if you really want to move to that new location, there's very little things stopping you. So I wanted to see how I could set more effective goals. And I've been on this journey, on this search of trying to understand how to more effectively set goals that I want to achieve, and how to not just set those goals, simple goals. I felt moving to a new city was a simple goal, but perhaps some people might be more difficult, while other goals might be easier for some people and more difficult for me. But I set what I considered a goal that was attainable. And I've been doing this research, doing this study into goals and personal development, personal growth and things like that. And I've wondered, what is the gap between the goals that I'm setting, particularly the really big moonshot goals, as I might call them, or moonshot goals, the ones that are tough, that I feel like are tough to achieve, and what it takes to achieve them. What is that gap? And I started doing some research, and there's quite a few gaps, but I'm going to focus on one. And just a quick thought, one of the gaps is simply not having the motivation. Maybe I didn't truly want that goal that I had set, but I had set it arbitrarily. So having a goal that motivates you, having that goal that gets you, that setting the right intention toward those goals, those all help. But one thing that I'm constantly finding, not just online from like random influencers, but from some of the top thinkers in the world, like John Assaraf, who was in the book The Secret, Joe Vitale, who was also in the book The Secret, David Cameron Gikandi, who was a big advisor on the book The Secret, as well as many other people like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Bob Proctor, influencers, many people who are successful coaches and life personal growth development consultants and all of that. One common element in almost all of these, but from all these influences, is the ability to visualize. And don't think of visualization. How I would have thought of visualization is it sounds silly to me thinking about it now, thinking that, oh, if I visualize something, suddenly it will appear. And sometimes you do manifest things into your life. Sometimes there are things that manifest into your life unexpectedly, by surprise. You didn't know how it could happen, but it just happens, right? We've all had those. Maybe we've had a dream that somehow, manifested, or maybe we had a thought or an idea. Have you ever thought of an idea and suddenly you see like someone come out with a news story and it was already invented? Have you ever thought of someone wanting to speak with someone on the phone and the next day they called you? Those are things that can happen. And although there are thinkers and researchers who believe that it is a law of attraction, I believe in the law of attraction. I totally believe the law of attraction works. It works 100% of the time. It's always working. And here's the thing, there are some gaps between the perfection of the law of attraction. For example, you can manifest some simple things like a call, but how do you manifest like $1 million, $100 million, a new car, your dream job, your dream relationship, things like that? Some of those things can be more complicated, or it could be as easy as it takes you to understand and apply the law of attraction. But with that said, these are just some ways that can help you more effectively apply, reach and achieve your goals. But the biggest common thing is this topic of visualization, not just visualizing it for the sake of visualizing and hoping that it'll come true or thinking it'll come true, but truly visualizing for the purpose of moving towards your definite purpose, your definite chief aim, your definite goal. So let's give an example here. And looking at an example of two people. One person sets the goal. They want to become a successful business person. And this person says, okay, and I'm just going to use an example business right now. This is totally an example. It could be anything. They say they want to start a successful furniture store. Now, say both of these people want to start a successful furniture store. Now, person A says they want to start a successful furniture store, and they use the traditional goal setting idea. They say, I want to start a successful furniture store. It's going to have this name, and I want to have 25 employees at my store, and I want to have $10 million of revenue within 10 years. And I want to have 5 stores within 10 years or whatever, right? So just say that this one person A, did it. And all they did was say, okay, and that's it. They just wrote it on a piece of paper, and they started doing some research on like furniture stores, and they're kind of figuring it out, and that's it, right? Like that's how I've personally set goals in the past. I've written them down, and I've said I wanted it, and I did the planning and stuff, and some of them didn't come to fruition, while some others have. So with that said, just think about that one person, right? Person A, they just came up with a goal. They did it the traditional way, the deadline, the exact specifics, and all of that. And they just kind of set it, and they're figuring it out. Now, this other person sets the exact same goal. 10 million, 10 employees, multiple stores, furniture store. They know the name. And now they start to visualize what the store is going to look like. people that are going to come visit the store. They start to visualize the exact types of furniture that they're going to hold, what their vendors look like, the type of car that they drive to the store, the type of plaza that the store's in. They start visualizing their lifestyle as their business grows. They start visualizing what their family's going to be like. They start visualizing all of this, and they start creating this reality for themselves. They start creating the reality of accomplishing that big stretch goal. And who do you think is more likely going to achieve those goals? This person who's able to see all of these pieces starting to come together and can visualize it and just start to make those visualizations happen, not just because they like appear in their lives out of nowhere, maybe that can happen, but because they also start putting themselves into the position to be able to achieve those milestones from their visualizations. Because when you start to visualize things, there's this research that shows that your mind or yourself, your body cannot differentiate between something that is very, very, very vividly imagined or visualized and accepted as like something that you've imagined versus something that actually happens in real life. So with that said, think about this massive impact that happens from visualizing all these things, the power that has. And when I look at the goals that I've set personally, and when you think of the goals that you've personally set, think about it. The goals that you set versus the goals that you have not set. What is the difference? Were there visualizations? For example, when I set my goals of wanting to live in these major cities, move to these major cities, I started thinking about what it costs. I started imagining myself what it's like to live in those cities. I started to think about like what types of jobs are there, different types of experiences I could possibly have. And while I didn't do the full visualization like as you might do for a much bigger stretch goal, at some level, I have to think about this idea of that I spent more time doing that type of process for the goals that I've achieved than the goals that I have not achieved. And for this video, for the purpose of this video, in helping you achieve your goals, your definite major aim, your definite chief aim, as Napoleon Hill might have put it, how can you better visualize the goals that you are looking to achieve? How can you better visualize the process, the steps? What pieces are missing that you could potentially fill through visualization, imagination? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be, hey, this is exactly how it's going to be. This is exactly how it's going to manifest. And, here's the thing is your expectations as well. If you don't quite believe in the law of attraction, if you don't quite believe in manifestation, if you don't quite believe that, things that you think about, you dream about, you wish for, and you hope for, if you don't quite believe that that can bring those things about, whether in some magical way that you might feel, or whether through some manifestation, or just simply being aware of those opportunities and simple coincidence. Maybe you're super scientific minded and you don't ever relate, or I think it's called a correlation is not correlation is not something, right? Correlation is not, doesn't mean that the event happened because of this. Causation. Correlation is not causation. You've probably heard that before. So maybe you're super scientific, and like me, and you can't get yourself to believe that just because you thought of something and it came true, that was a manifestation. It's just a coincidence. It happened. But at some level, there are some correlations, and there is a truth to the law of attraction in many ways. Scientists who do not believe these things, whatever, or they need more research, they look for the research to either prove it or negate it, right? So with that said, as you achieve and set your goals, just think about, at least consider the idea that maybe the gap between the goals that you've set and reached versus the goals you have set and not reached is just a little bit more of visualization. You could call it imagining, but visualization is actually, thinking of the things in your mind as they appear as potentially real in reality, and imagination is thinking or making things up. So there's a combination between imagination and visualization that can help you achieve your goals. But if this was the missing link, how can you apply this to help yourself in your life? And that's a question for you. It's a broad answer. It's not like there's no definite right or wrong answer. It's more about how can you, for your specific goals in mind, visualize the opportunity, the project. And I'm going to help you here just a little bit just to get your brainstorming. And think about it this way. So who would be in your life during those times of your, or to start off better, pick a specific goal that you'd like to achieve, some stretch goal that you haven't accomplished yet, or maybe that you're afraid to go out, or maybe whether you feel failure or fear success, think about how you can go reach those goals. Pick one specific one and start to think about these answers to questions that I'm about to ask. So one question is, who are you working with? Who are you listening to in those situations? Who are you interacting with? Are they much more successful than you? Are they your peers? Are they your current peers? Are they new peers? What do they look like? What business are they in? And another question, money aside, right? Money is important. Think of a definite number that you want, yes, but think about the things that you're purchasing with it. Because as I've come to make some money or a lot of money, or money from stocks and all of that, or what I find is that I don't just want to have money to have money. I wanted to use money to grow a business. I want to use money to have experiences. I want to use money so that I can personally grow and also help others. Help others through philanthropy. Help others by sharing ideas. Help others in that way. We tend to see Hollywood films and movies, and we all know of the Grinch, or not the Grinch, but Scrooge. Scrooge had like this entire warehouse of gold in his home, and this entire safe of gold, and everybody else in the city was like poor and sad and struggling, and he didn't want to share it with anybody. But like Hollywood painted that picture, and while some people see it as, oh, Scrooge is evil and money is bad, some people see that, whereas what others that I've come to discuss this with have seen it, they've seen it from the perspective of not Scrooge is bad, but that the idea of just holding money for yourself, just keeping money to yourself, is a Hollywood imagination. Most people that become very wealthy and successful, they don't do that by just keeping money in their safes at home. Money doesn't grow that way. They do it by giving to others, by helping others build their careers, by paying employees, by building systems, creating systems that help their business grow. And they have to invest in vendors, people that offer them these services. And they spend the money on themselves too, of course. They buy anything that makes them happy, anything that they want. They invest in other businesses, other people, philanthropy, and things like that. The money is rarely ever just kept in a big safe and not grow. I mean, even if you keep it within the bank, at least like you're helping your banker to grow, which, call it whatever you want, whatever your opinions are in terms of that type of system, capitalism, the banking system, or any other government financial system, whatever you want to call it, whatever your opinions are, it's rarely ever just kept in a bank with zero interest gains, right? So with that said, very few people keep their cash under a pillow for their entire lives and become successful, wealthy, and in every sense of the word, successful. So with that said, who are you with? What are you doing with that money? Maybe you do become successful by just keeping your money in a safe, locked up, because you're able to like just have a job. You make a lot of money in your job, and all you do is just confiscate that money for yourself, and you just keep it in a drawer somewhere or whatever. Maybe you can become successful that way and can prove everybody wrong or whatever. But at the end of the day, there's this amazing idea of visualizing what you're doing with the money. If you have $1 million, if you have $10 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion, if you have $1 trillion business, what type of business does that look like? Is it an Amazon competitor? Is it a retail business, a real estate business? So, looking at that level, is it another iPhone competitor? Is it a car company? What is it? So, with that said, breaking it down, visualizing these things that you're doing with your money. Do you have pets that you're supporting? Do you have a family, a car? What type of car are you driving? What color is it? What kind of trips are you taking? Do you have time for trips? Or is it just the first 5 years you see yourself just working your butt off until you can figure out how to grow your business more and to have employees that can help take care of it, and you can hire a CEO and take time off? There's evidence that showed that John D. Rockefeller, or I think it was John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie or Carnegie Steel, or John D. Rockefeller of the oil and gas. I think he was oil and gas. He might have been steel, but Carnegie Steel, Rockefeller, gas and oil and all that. Some of the wealthiest men that have ever lived, most successful business people who have ever lived and created America, basically. It's some people have found after they did research that Andrew Carnegie, or one of them, was literally only worked a few hours a day. They went to the office in the mornings, talked to some employees, maybe had a couple meetings, and then after by noon, they went home and started to spend time to do whatever they needed. Because the thing is, when you start to think at that level, when you start to do business at that level, you need a lot of time to think. You have a lot of decisions to make. You have a lot of deals to make, people to meet, ideas to develop, decisions and burdens of teams and things that are holding on to you. So you need rest time. You need breaks. You need to take the time that you need to become successful. And with that said, most people don't want to admit it, but some of the hardest working employee is not always the CEO or the top executives. And the top executives are rarely ever the hardest working people at the company. In terms of physical labor, right? Thinking is very difficult. Most people don't want to spend the time to, figure out solutions to problems. They just want to put it into place. They just want to get the idea and then just make it happen. But to think up the idea, to think up the plan, to think up the solution, to think up the problem and put it all together, that's a lot of effort. And with that said, we've talked about who you're going to be surrounded by, what you're going to put your money in. Can you visualize it? Can you imagine those things? If you can't imagine it, what can you do to imagine it? One of the exercises one of my mentors taught me was to order the ROB report, ROBB report. And in the ROB report, one of the things that was discussed was this idea of knowing what's possible. Because if you don't know that you can purchase a jet or a super yacht or certain types of jewelry, and yes, this is all material stuff. Some of you might be more interested in spiritual pursuits or whatever, but material things, if you want physical manifestations of things, if you want to experience beauty and glamour and, amazing trips and vacations, then it's good to know what's possible. It's good to know what the prices of things are to take exotic trips to exotic islands. It's good to know what it might cost to have a personal jet. It might be good to know to see what it costs to be able to give beautiful art and items and luxury experiences to family and friends. It's good to know that these things exist, because then it helps you to visualize all of these things that you could potentially have. And whether you go to get all of them and achieve all of them is one question, but whether you actually desire to, whether you actually try to or have the desire to or whatever, then that's a whole separate topic. So with that said, what are you surrounding yourselves by? What items, what events, what spiritual experiences that you want to go to? Start to visualize those things. And then what you have to do also as well, consider who, the what, where are you going, when, and you don't even have to pick a specific date, but thinking of timelines can be helpful, but you also don't have to think of timelines. You could just set the goal and figure it out, right? Because, obviously you set a timeline. If you could visualize that entire timeline, you're basically predicting your own future. You're controlling your own future. But if you don't, if you use the traditional approach of figuring the exact timeline, if you don't set the goal, you failed, right? If you use that traditional approach, you can hurt yourself, because not only is that approach not helpful in every area of your life, it's great if you're a business and you're a manager and you have to set goals for your employees because they might not set it themselves or they might not know how. And if you're a manager, of course, you have that visual, that image, you should have that vision of how your organization is run. You should be able to see how your employees can interact with each other. You should be able to visualize the activities that they need to do to achieve the goals of the organization or the company. And when you can do that, then you're a great manager and you set the goals for your employees in a sense. And hopefully that your employees know the right goal setting methods that help them to achieve the motivation to do what it is that the company needs. Of course, you could set goals for anybody, but they have to be motivated to do them, which is why the overall organizational, within a company, within an organization, where there's leadership and money involved and things like that, and business involved, that organizational goal setting can be different from traditional goal setting, and why understanding the difference between goal setting for the organization and goal setting for individual performers and employees is a huge topic these days. So with that said, I hope this is helpful in helping you to find the gap between not your work goals, but your life goals, your personal goals, your business goals, your entrepreneurial goals, to create that, to fill that gap between what you want to achieve and where your goals are now. And that gap in between is essentially how you're setting those goals. And you could fill that from what I've found, from what I've researched, all this countless money that I've invested in reading and time that I've invested in reading books, going through courses, speaking with other coaches and everything, all this time and money that I've spent to fill that gap. A lot of it can be filled by simply visualizing. And I say simple because the idea of visualizing is simple, but actually doing it, actually taking the time to do it right, actually imagining and visualizing what you want to achieve can be much more difficult, because you have to sit down, you have to focus, you have to build that skill, that ability. And with that said, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I wish you great prosperity and success in your life, and hope you have a wonderful day.